Soon, my lord. Soon.
Son of a...
And this is why you don't put your fate 100% into the Canadians, my fellow Whitehorn Enjoyers. You never know when they will disappoint you. Another season already. Well, that was sure fast. Oh well, I'm not a game developer, so what do I know? And I sure felt a rush when I saw that we were going to get a new prime asset, so I sent a prayer out to our god the wall rider, hoping for the smallest chance possible, but then 5 seconds later that rush was gone, my hopes were shattered, and now we're back to square zero. The new prime asset is most likely to be the Buffalo Minotaur killer mentioned in the documents, and seeing how they are somehow linked to Crest Chemical, they might be using a sort of chemical weapon, or maybe the gas from toxic shock that permanently decreases our health. Or maybe even a new sort of gas that brings its own kind of skeleton along. This is all just speculation, of course, and I'm most likely wrong about a lot of stuff, but seeing how it keeps hammered in that it's going to be very different from what they have done before, and that the concept of Whitehorn is very cold from it. Thank you, Hugo, for crushing my soul. I might as well throw all the weird shit at the wall and see what sticks. Now, other than having a crash out over this, I wanted to make this video for another reason. Whilst Red Barrels is busy working on Season 4, I thought it might be fun to aid them a little bit if they ever run out of ideas and finally decide to put the big man in the game. I will give you my crazy vision for a Prescott Whitehorn trial. And for the very few people that will actually watch this and will probably think, why would they ever put him in the game? You're just coping and grabbing at straws. All fair criticisms, may I add. I will say this to you. The whole reason that I still have hope is because every update it is given to me again. Not by leaks or random Reddit posts, but by Red Barrels themselves. Yes, Whitehorn was mentioned in the documents, but logically thinking, that was probably from the time that they still planned on having him included in the game itself, so it made sense as a sort of teaser. But after that, after they made the cancellation announcement, they didn't have to put a big company sign of his brand on the docks, but they did. They didn't have to put his name in random grunt dialogue, but they did. They didn't have to model a whole gas station after his brand and make advertisements for Whitehorn Petroleum, but they did. They could have just told us that he was dead, or definitely say he was never coming back in that AMA, instead of saying he was temporarily gone. And again, I am not a game dev, but I do know that everything made for a game needs to be approved first, for it to be included. Every asset, every line of dialogue, every decision. So someone on the dev team approved all of the Whitehorn stuff. Someone modeled it and poured their time and effort into it, and I don't think they would do that just for shit and giggles. As long as Red Barrels keeps using his name, I have hope. So either put his head on a stick, or put him in the game. That's what this lunatic thinks. Now with that out of the way, let's start this joyride.
That's what you get for fucking with America!
Now from this point onward, the rest of this video is just gonna be my ideas, so if you have some of your own, comment them. This video is just to have fun and throw ideas around, so whatever you think, you can't be wrong. Now let's start with his background. From what we already know, Whitehorn is rich, has an oil company, and has political connections. But instead of going all in on those, I thought it might be fun if we go deeper into the concept of the Cold War itself. America versus the Soviet Union, capitalism versus communism, etc. And there's one part of the Cold War that I haven't yet seen in trials. Paranoia. The distrust that brews between the people of the USA, not knowing who to trust or who could be trusted. The feeling that you can be safe in your own home, if there is a possibility that you could be surrounded by the enemy without even knowing it, with the fear of nuclear annihilation being hammered into your brain. And imagine what could happen if all that paranoia resides within a giant of a man that has every resource available to him like money, acres of private property, with a patriotic mindset that convinces him that every action that he makes is for the good of his fellow Americans.
I'm an American man!
My idea is that Whitehorn picks people off the street that he sees as communist spies, abducts them and takes them to one of his many properties or land that he owes, and hunts them down like the totally communist dogs that there are, alongside like-minded individuals from the same class as him. And to play to the old company CEO bit as well, some of his victims could be competitors in the same field as him. This makes him even richer. He has the resources to buy off everyone that might investigate his escapades, and the factor of charisma can also work, seeing how being born with a silver spoon in your mouth but not being afraid to get your hands dirty for the greater good of your country does make for quite a character. Murkoff could have gotten wind of this from the CIA, probably, seeing how they would monitor such activities. And it could go so far that the paranoia mutates into full-on delusional thinking, that he truly sees most people as his enemy. And if what he's doing made it to the public, it could cost him his company. Another reason to put WP advertisements all over the trial environment could be to assure him that he still has his hand in a lot of pies, that he's still in control over certain elements, or something along those lines. But at least you get the point. So now that we have a bit more background and motive for participating in the trials during Project Wave 1, let's go over his trial then.
That's a nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
The trial I came up with is called Control the Source. Going even further into the topic of paranoia, I think I came up with a clever outcome. Whitehorn, completely overtaken by paranoia, has decided that he can only trust himself to spread the information of his just cause to the rest of the world. The officials are bought over, and news companies are ready to broadcast it. And here's where you come in. To shut down the broadcast, alter it to Murkoff's taste, and then show the real truth to the world. And now, it doesn't sound like much at a first glance, but here's the kicker. A large part of the trial is going to take place outside of the Signala facility at night.
Dum, dum, dum.
What was that?
Yeah, a dramatic music cue. It would have been better if my voice wasn't so flat.
Now, before you call me crazy and say that I'm not a true fan for even suggesting something so ridiculous, I want you to keep in mind, although it's really out there, it might be a refreshing change of scenery to have an outside area in the game. Outlast 1 had the courtyard segment, Outlast 2 had Outlast 2, and it would be somewhat logical that Trials follows this trend. Even if you are outside, you are not free, you're not safe, there's nowhere else to go than back into the belly of the beast. The environment will be an oil drill site, with half of the trial taking place outside, where you have to sneak around traps and enemies, and the other half taking place inside the self-made news studio for the main event. Technically, they could do a suburbs thing to emulate the outside, but I think it will be more fun for a true outside area. And of course, the security needs to be airtight. Electric death fences, barbed wire, and even if that all fails, they could always plant a bomb in the ESOPs that trigger when it's out of the environment. Most of the outside is going to be filled with trees and branches that can give away your location. I had one Nick and Laird section, but with the Berserker on higher difficulties. And when you arrive at the old site, you enter the security checkpoint, where we are introduced to Whitehorn in his prime asset moment, showing off his brute strength, effortlessly killing a big grunt with his bare hands to show why he's a prime asset. And after that you enter a sort of courtyard with the main building in front of you and a path going left and right. Now I think it would be fun if there were multiple ways to play this trial. One way, left, takes you through rocky terrain to a station where after repairing the electronic system prints out a fake pass out for you that you can use to enter the building to the front. It might take a while longer, but it's safer. And then the other way, right, takes you around the back of the building where you have to sneak past enemies and cameras so you can sneak in through the back of the building. A faster but riskier approach. The reason for this is simple. I'm a bit tired of doing things one way. Just a little bit. Inside the building you have to get to the 3rd floor. There's an elevator, but Whitehorn in his infinite wisdom has cut the cables, causing it to crash down and even kill you if you're too close. So now your only option is the stairs, where you have to make your way to the 1st and 2nd floor, opening gates along the way with Whitehorn patrolling both floors. When you are there, classic Outlast trial stuff. When you make it to the 3rd floor, you arrive at the makeshift studio. The cameras are ready, switches are lit around the place, and the victim, the news anchor, is strapped to his seat. Now it's time for the finale. The goal here is to ridicule, mutilate, and eventually kill the news anchor and puppeteer his corpse for the new true message to the world. We do this by breaking his jaw after clicking a sledgehammer into place, crushing his hands a la pendulum trap from Saw 5 by looking for and flipping the right set of switches in the room, and ridicule him by covering him in tar and feathers. Then you are instructed to get behind the camera yourself and record the message. And to be clear, Whitehorn and his ex-pop will be on your ass during all of this. And when everything is ready, a small lighter will rise up from the ground, setting him ablaze, causing the entire set to be burned down in due time. After all of this is done, you can escape by either using the stairs, platforming your way down the elevator shaft, or using the fire escape for some more diversity in the choices you can make for escape. Now Whitehorn will be stalking you to the woods on the way back, the shuttle, and you escape. I did it! I made a good Outlast Trials level concept! In all honesty, is it a crazy idea coming from a deranged lunatic? Yes. But it wouldn't be something Outlast related if it wasn't completely crazy. And I think it's a pretty good idea, says I, the random stranger on the internet who you should definitely listen to under any circumstance.
Fire, you son of a...
A Whitehorn wouldn't be a true prime asset if he hasn't a unique ability tied to him. And you wouldn't believe it, but I got the perfect idea. As you all know, he's a pretty big guy, so I thought it would be best if we keep it simple and just focus on his immense physique and the natural strength that would go with it. And I hear you thinking already, but lunatic, he looks so plain, how can you ever make him scary? Then I say, you bring back the limp. When he makes physical contact with a reagent, Whitehorn strikes are so powerful that it fractures your bones, making you limp for a certain amount of time, slowing down your movement speed and causing you to take damage when you perform a rushed action like sliding and climbing over a wall. And if that sounds boring, look at the other PAs. Gooseberry can make you bleed. Woo. Cole can short circuit your rig. Woo. And Franco has the concept of range on his side. I believe it fits in just right. And because I'm not without mercy, there's even a counter to this. Adrenaline. Alright, raise your hands if you think that adrenaline is the most useless item in the game. That's what I thought. I even find the barricade rig more useful. The fucking barricade rig. Just close the door, run away. Why does this thing even exist? Not that he could have used a shotgun or something. Oh wait, they took it away from him. Thanks, Red Barrels. Thank you so fucking much. Renting and crash out aside, I hope I did a good enough job of explaining the whole thing, and I hope it was an entertaining enough concept. Again, this video is for having fun. If any of you have your own ideas, feel free to share them, and there are no good or bad ideas, just ideas. And to close this video off, I want to remind you all, a man only dies when people forget about him. We will keep the name Prescott Whitehorn alive, and I'll never give up hope as long as I see that name. And I will never give up on lost potential, even if others have. Even if it makes me look like a lunatic, that's just who I am.